The superstar drivers of Winston Cup. Highly skilled, highly paid, revered, even worshipped by their fans. Who do they admire and respect? The thoughtful men called crew chiefs. Some are graduate engineers. Some graduates of the School of Hard Knocks. But all have earned a doctorate in this, the most demanding theater of motorsports, NASCAR. Most are men of few words. Flamboyance is not their style. But their relentless pursuit of perfection has proven 29 weekends each season. Of all the tracks they confront, none accept their challenge so eagerly as this monster. The most treacherous mile of macadam in the world, Dover Downs in Dover, Delaware. TNN Motorsports proudly presents live flag-to-flag coverage of NASCAR Winston Cup action from Dover, Delaware. The Peak Antifreeze 500 presented by Pep Boys. This man, Paul Andrews, has perhaps worked harder this weekend than any other crew chief. You see, on Friday morning, he watched his driver lose control into the wall, destroying their primary race car. They had a backup car. Paul and crew got it out. It wasn't nearly ready to qualify. But in 2 hours, it was on pit road, last in line. And guess what? The driver, Alan Kowicki, put it on the pole. And, Alan, I think you were more amazed than anybody else.
Well, that crash didn't do anything to help my confidence out. And this is a tough track, but, you know, the crew did a great job getting the other car ready. And we managed to pull the other Hooters Ford Thunderbird out and win the pole. And it was the best salvation we could have for that day. Hopefully, we're going to have a good, safe race today and pick up a few points. And
this has been a good horse for you. It won at Bristol and Pocono, I believe.
This car is just as good as the other cars. It's just a little different design. And, you know, when you say it's your backup car, it doesn't mean it's not a good car or secondary car. It's just not the one we chose to use this weekend.
You'll get him.
Thank you.
All right, right now, let's meet my broadcast pal on pit road, Glenn Jarrett.
Well, thanks, Steve. Tim Brewer has had a little easier time of things this week than Paul Andrews had, but his efforts were still a little disappointing as his car, driven by Winston Cup points leader Bill Elliott, had to settle for a 13th starting position. However, traditionally, Elliott has been super tough at this racetrack. He's one of the best at keeping the car under him all day long. What's the secret here to survival at the Monster Mile, Bill?
Well, I think today it's going to be survival. This racetrack's just a tough racetrack. You set the car a long time, and the problem is you get somebody hooked up real well here and they can put you a lap down in a hurry, and hopefully we don't run into that situation.
Well, you've got the points lead now. This is a tough place to try to protect the points lead. Does that enter into your strategy today?
Well, of course. You know, for us, our strategy is first finish and then try to finish first. But for us, it's, you know, we need to get through here in the next couple of races, you know, at least get to Charlotte in pretty good shape.
Well, best of luck to you. He'll be a factor in today's race for sure. Steve Evans?
Kirk Shelmerdine, the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt, the number 3 car, has prepared this pit for a lot of action today because when the yellow comes out at Dover, the cars come in. Right now, let's go to a guy who's always prepared, our racecaster, Mike Joy.
Well, thank you, Steve, and hello, everybody. Bill Elliott's going to find that Dover is a tough place to go point chasing. Why, just yesterday, Joe Nemechek spun out of 6th place and out of the point lead in the Busch Grand National Series with just 3 laps left to go. He got caught up in a calamity. Short straightaways, long corners, and a long way from that low groove up to the top of the retaining wall. And when that one gets you, it really hurts. Dover is perhaps the one track on the circuit that best embodies the concept of racing being a team sport. Yeah, the driver has to survive out there, but the crew has to put the car under him and keep it under him all day. It takes a lot of personnel to do that and a lot of effort. My 2 broadcast partners, Neil Bonnet and Buddy Baker, have spent the morning down in the garage area to show us just that. First, let's go to Neil Bonnet on tape. Here's Neil.
Guys, I slipped off in the garage early this morning to show you how hectic it is on race morning. It's pretty hectic, but there's a lot of people getting this race car ready. Darryl, what's going on?
Well, it really is, and everybody here's got a job. There's about 12 of us, and got Dave Tapman, our engine tuner. We got Charlie Siegert over there, our engine builder. Got Sam Conway here, our general manager. Got Jake, the crew chief. Got Joe, the business manager. Got Doug, who is Jake's right-hand man. We got Danny here that sets up pits. Behind him is Randy, that's a general mechanic. Up there is Big Moose that helps in the pit and does gas mileage. best truck driver in racing, Tom McCrinnan. One of our best mechanics there, Ronnie Hoover. Got Billy Hodges back there that takes care of brakes. Move on back here a little bit. We got Ronnie that sets up pits. We got Jerry the pilot. We got Red the fabricator, and we got Bob Sutton that puts the bodies on these things and makes them go fast. And down there on the side, don't forget, look here, Western Auto, #1 sponsor in racing.
And we got Darrell Walter. Can remember it all. There's a lot of work going on down here. It takes a lot of work to get ready for this race. Let's go to Buddy Baker for another story.
Well, Neil, just as Darrell Walter's crew has to do a lot to make a car go for 500 miles, we have to do a lot to keep the driver comfortable here, too. It's a very demanding racetrack. Let me point out a few things. Right here is a motor-driven air cool from the right-hand side. You have a special built seat to keep the G-forces down. You have a headrest up here in case the guy's neck gets tired. He can put it up against the brace there. You have air cool coming in that side. You have leg braces in here to take the G-force load off. It's just a very demanding racetrack. You have to work for driver convenience just like you do a car go 500 miles.
Buddy tried to bring one of those Butler-built seats and a cool suit up into the broadcast booth, but they wouldn't fit this morning. TNN Motorsports exclusive live coverage of the Peak Antifreeze 500 presented by Pep Boys is brought to you by Peak, the heavy-duty engine antifreeze. Don't stop short of the Peak. By Haviland Formula 3 motor oil. Add more life to your car. By cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. By Fram Oil Filter. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later. And by Goodyear, #1 in tires. Steve Emile, crew chief for Mark Martin, the outside pole sitter, getting ready as are 35 other race teams to roll here at Dover in the state of Delaware's largest attended sporting event ever. We'll bring it to you live right after this.
The American Society for Testing and Materials set a new technical standard for antifreeze used to protect heavy-duty truck engines against boiling, freeze-ups, and corrosion. Only one of the 3 best-selling antifreeze brands made for cars meets that standard. It's the patented car antifreeze that can also keep heavy-duty engines running at their peak. Protect your engine from freeze-ups and boilovers. Remember the heavy-duty standard. Don't stop short of the Peak.
Last year, Davey Allison added something new to his car. It wasn't wider tires or a slicker shape. It was the same Haviland Formula 3 motor oil you can buy, straight off the shelf, to add more life to your car with complete protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Now, we're not saying it was Haviland Formula 3 that gave Davey the energy to lead more major NASCAR races than anyone last year and win this year's Daytona 500. But we're not saying it wasn't.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is back in town. So you better hold on. Spread the word around. Guess who's back in town? Oil. It's the lifeblood of your engine. That makes your oil filter your engine's most vital organ. That's why Fram keeps going the extra mile to make the best protection even better. The Fram Extra Guard Oil Filter. Unique glass fiber paper stops more dirt than any other filter for the best protection ever. Fram Extra Guard. American or import, it's an extra lease on life.
Only one driver has taken the green flag at every Dover event since the track opened in 1969. Today, Richard Petty prepares for his final appearance behind the wheel of the famed number 43 here at Dover. Over the past 23 years, Richard has posted marks likely to stand for years, if not forever. 7 wins, 26 top 10 finishes. He's led 1 out of every 8 laps he's driven here. And in this race in 1971, he led 491 of the 500 laps. That, of course, is one reason they call him the king of stock car racing. Let's meet him with Steve Evans.
Well, Mike, today the King matches wits with the Monster for the final time. And Richard, I know it's with mixed emotions you say goodbye to Dover.
Well, any of them is mixed emotions, and we've had some good runs here. And any place you have good runs, you hate not to come back to, but we're here to try it one more time.
And you'll never forget the year you won 199 right here at Dover.
That was a big win for us. You know, all of them were big wins, but 199 we had to get to before we could get to 200. So that was the biggest win we've ever had here at Dover.
Have a great final ride.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's go back to Mike Joy for this week's Haviland update. Winston Cup action from last weekend.
69,000 fans came to Richmond last Saturday night for the Miller Genuine Draft 400, and did they get their money's worth? Through the second half of the race, Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace traded the lead back and forth, sometimes several times per lap. Lap 295, Mike Waltrip brought out the third caution of the night after tagging the wall at turn 3 and 4. Some 12 laps later, Davey Allison took this ride through the infield. He would finish the race 5 spots behind point leader Bill Elliott. But no mistaking who was in charge on this night. Rusty Wallace ran away and hid, leading 231 of the 400 laps. Wallace posted a nearly 4-second margin of victory in taking his first Winston Cup win since July 1991. Elliott holds a strong point lead. Davey Allison leads Alan Kulwicki for second now by just 30 points. Then Harry Gant and Mark Martin. 6th through 9th, very tightly bunched. Darrell Waltrip, Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, and Dale Earnhardt. Then Morgan Shepherd in 10th.
Well, things can certainly change in a hurry in Winston Cup racing. Until last week, Rusty Wallace was mired in a frustrating season, struggling along. Then he soundly whipped the field. You guys turned things around in a hurry.
Yeah, we sure did. I mean, the car's really running good. Got a good engine combination. The car's handling good. Buddy Paris did a marvelous job. I just like the brewery. Everybody stood behind us through all our downtimes, and now everything's looking good.
Well, this car has been awfully fast. You're one of the favorites for today. What's your strategy? You going to attack this thing, or you got to lay back and wait?
Well, it's been real fast, no doubt about that. But I've got springs in this car a little softer than I normally like to run. So the first part of the race, if you see the car going backwards, I'll probably be doing some adjusting to get it back to the front of the end of the race.
And I imagine that's where he'll end up. Mike Joy?
Thanks, Glenn. There's a look at the backstretch and closed grandstand here at Dover Downs. That's the front stretch for the horse track inside this 1-mile oval. You see the turns are banked 24 degrees, and the straightaways here are banked more than the corners on some short tracks. And of the 5,280 feet that make up a lap here, only 2,100 of that is straightaway. The rest is all corner. It makes for a long, tough day for the fellows that sit in those 36 seats. As the engines fire down on pit road, we'll have a look at the starting lineup for today's Peak Antifreeze 500. Alan Kulwicki's 4th pole of the season, and Mark Martin, who's been 3 times a runner-up here on the Monster Mile, will share the front row. In row 2, last week's winner Rusty Wallace, and Terry Labonte with a great qualifying run. In the 3rd row, Dale Earnhardt, the 1989 winner of this race, and Ricky Rudd, who's won here back-to-back. Dick Trickle finished 6th here last year, and Jeff Bodine, a former winner here, in the 4th row. In row 5, Ken Schrader, who won a race here last year, and Rick Bass, his first top 10 start of the season. Dale Jarrett and Dave Marcus, who finished 2nd here in 1982. Bill Elliott's won here 4 times. He's the point leader. Darrell Waltrip won this race twice. Sterling Marlin has finished 5th here 2 times, and Kyle Petty was runner-up here 10 years ago. Ted Musgrave and Brett Bodine share the 9th row. Back in row 10, Ernie Irvin, scheduled to start there along with Hut Strickland in the Judy Donlevy car. Morgan Shepherd, fastest second-round qualifier, shares row 11 with Harry Gant. Bobby Hamilton and Michael Waltrip, 5th in this event last year. Here's the King with 7 victories here at Dover, and Jimmy Hensley, who'll be the Rookie of the Year. Wally Dallenbach making his 2nd Dover start, and Mike Potter with the only Buick in the race. Davey Allison, his farthest back starting spot of the season, and Jim Sauter in the Dave Marcus car. Derek Cope, a former winner here, and Chad Little in the Harry Melling Ford. Then in the 17th row, Jeff Purvis driving for Bobby Allison, and Jimmy Means making his 32nd start here. Graham Taylor makes his 2nd Winston Cup start, and James Hilton, who finished 3rd at Dover in the very first race here in 1969, will fill out the starting field, 36 cars strong, no provisionals. Richard Petty will lead the field around for the parade lap, as he's done at every race in the second half of his final season as a driver, and every fan in the grandstand has a number 43 flag to wave. And, of course, a few nicely placed banners as well. Long live the king. You bet. Saw another one go by, said Harry Gant for president. Guess it is that year, isn't it? Warming the engines on pit road. Look at how steeply banked. That's the straightaway, folks. That's not the corner. It's about the transition starting to get into the corner, but that's still straightaway there. We'll be riding along with 3 of the 36 drivers in the field. There you see the roof cam atop Mark Martin's car. He'll be giving us pictures from his 360-degree tilt and pan race cam inside the car over his right shoulder. And shots from the roof cam on Mark Martin's car as well, which shows the driver's point of view. We'll also be riding along with Rusty Wallace, last week's winner at Richmond. He's going to have our backseat driver cam. Now that's where it's situated, back on the back of the roll cage, and also he'll have a side view cam looking back out the windshield post there on the passenger side. We'll also be riding with Davey Allison starting from deep in the field, and he'll give you these views from the Haviland Ford out the windshield of Davey's car, and also back at the rest of the field. Those are the views we'll see, and as you look at the sky as the field rolls by, it is a beautiful day for racing here in Delaware. Hardly a cloud in the sky, and it's gotten up into the 70s here today. There's a look at the weather radar, and you don't see a cloud on the screen. None of that yellow, red, or green stuff. It's going to be a just perfect day. Temperature may hit 80 today. It'll be close. Mild wind, mostly sunny skies. It'll be a great day for racing. Ernie Irvin has moved to the back of the field, having had problems with a car in practice. He had to start the backup car, at the tail end of the field, and so has moved back there. Welcome Neil Bonnet, Buddy Baker up here to the broadcast booth as the field comes by. Buddy, I'm sorry all that stuff you had down in the garage wouldn't fit up here, but you'll just have to endure 500 laps on one of these chairs like the rest of us.
Well, I tell you what, they really load these cars up with pamps and things to take care of this race. This is a tough race if it was 50 degrees, much less the way it is today.
Nearly $700,000 at stake here, the maximum potential award. The 36 cars started. Race record was set here 2 years ago by Bill Elliott, including caution flags, average speed 125 miles an hour. Kulwicki lapped this track at 146 miles an hour to qualify. There from Davey Allison's car, you see Richard Petty moving back into his qualifying position as we get set to go racing next time by. Only car out in front of Mark Martin is the pace car. And alongside Alan Kulwicki, of course, the pole sitter. There's our backseat driver cam showing Rusty Wallace hard at work scrubbing tires.
Take a look out in front of Mark Martin's car a while ago. He might get that look because in practice when we were clocking everybody, Mark Martin's car has been extremely fast. He seems to have a real good race setup in there. He might be the guy that takes off and jumps out front. You know, Wicky's a big question mark with that car. Very little practice on it.
If there is a favorite, a pre-race favorite, it would be Mark Martin here. Through practice and qualifying. Saw Ernie Irvin there at the back of the field, running a backup car. Getting set to roll here for 500 miles. On the brake, it is Mark Martin by a fender down into turn number 1, but Kulwicki brings the race right back to him.
They actually got together there, Mike, in that corner. Looked like they tagged each other a little bit on the start of the race.
You notice Kulwicki's car jumping sideways coming off the corner. He may have a little bit of a loose condition with that car.
One condition he has, he's got a condition of a little blue car inside of him in a hurry.
Kulwicki will lead the first lap, and then Martin returns the favor down in turn number 1.
There comes Dale Earnhardt up in the third.
Now, why would Alan Kulwicki run so hard on the first lap? 5 bonus points. He's right up there in third in the Winston Cup standings. Needed those bonus points, then let Mark Martin on by.
Yeah, he can adjust after a while. He was glad to get that 5 points on the first lap, because he may not lead it for a little while now.
Jack Roush Fords in the race. Mark Martin on the point. Wally Dallenbach drives the other. Ford's running 1-2. Terry Labonte in third. Up to a moment ago when Earnhardt went past. The Ford Chevrolet.
Mark Martin's car, they're capable with Jack Roush. They pull a real low gear in their race cars. And boy, does that pay off in a place like this. The payoff is can you make it all day long. This place is really abusive on engines, and Mark and his guys really put a lot of gear in their race cars.
Rusty Wallace has fallen way back on the start. You're riding with Rusty. He started third, and he's now back to 14th position.
Mike, we almost sensed that when we interviewed Rusty at the top of the show. He said, hey, I might fall back. I got a softer spring. He's waiting for later in the race for that thing to come to him a little bit. But you can't wait too long because he's really dropping back in a hurry.
Now riding with Davey Allison as he trails Morgan Shepherd, who had a bit of a wiggle coming off turn number 4, as did most drivers qualifying here on Friday afternoon.
You don't need a wiggle right now because there's just 496 more to go.
Right. Out behind Davey's car as he makes the pass on Shepherd.
Neil, it looks like Davey's car is handling good down the straightaway again today.
Yeah, I think I walked through the garage and talked to Robert Yates, and they had trouble qualifying and all. They said they worked on it, They finally did one thing, and it seemed like it straightened them out, and they're running good again now.
Up front, Martin and Kulwicki keep close tabs on one another.
You know what might have happened there? Kulwicki might have started on brand new tires, and the 6th car was on used tires. I tell you, it looks like they're pretty equal now. As far as him running away like everybody thought he was going to do, he's going to have to work just to stay ahead of Kulwicki.
Kulwicki's got to have it in the back of his head, Mike. You know, this is the 2nd race here this year, and that's his 5th race car.
Right.
He went through 3 the first race, and he took 2 for this race. He's got a lot of money tied up trying to finish 2 races in Dover.
Friday, he admitted to being a little spooked there during that qualifying run and didn't think he had turned a good lap.
They need to scare him every week.
At least for a lap. You see the distance back to Earnhardt in third, and now Ricky Rudd, who runs very well here at Dover, has picked up the 4th spot. In fact, Ricky has had a couple of good runs these last few weeks, Darlington and at Richmond. Had a chance to win at both tracks. There's Richard Petty working under Rick Mast. Mike Waltrip right behind, and then Davey Allison. You're riding with Allison. Mike Waltrip just ahead. The outside groove taken up by Rick Mast's car as they trail Richard Petty. Richard in 20th position.
That's pretty impressive there. Davey just drove under 2 cars and pulled away from them.
Allison now up to 21st. 10 laps this time by for leader Mark Martin. And trouble up in turn 2. Rick Mast got way up, and they got 3 wide as Mike Waltrip had a bobble there. Mast recovers. Everything okay. We stay green.
They had a wreck. They just didn't finish it. They were all over the place.
And Mike Waltrip's off the pace. He'll come to pit road. After 10 laps, Mark Martin, the race leader. Alan Kulwicki running in 2nd. Dale Earnhardt is 3rd. Ricky Rudd is 4th. Terry Labonte is the 5th place car here at Dover. As Mike Waltrip makes the pit stop, we'll be right back.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
It's a beautiful morning.
Was it the desk clerk's smile?
Gonna meet my new granddaughter today.
The days in discounts for seniors?
I hope she looks a lot like me.
Maybe the wake-up call.
Not him.
One thing's for sure. Days in. Isn't it time you wake up to us?
I think I'll go outside and just smile.
Most of our customers come to AutoZone for low prices and for parts they can replace themselves. But many people come because we speak their language. Things like duration and lift and compression ratios, stuff like that. Because a guy who's going to rebuild an engine, he won't buy parts from just anybody. And since AutoZone stocks complete engines, we know what makes them tick inside and out. Sure, we sell our best parts at our best prices every day. But if we know something that's going to help you do the job right, you get that free.
I don't need some fancy cologne to tell me I'm a man. I use Skin Bracer. It smells great, but it also cools and tones my skin. Confidence is very sexy. Don't you think? Skin Bracer Aftershave.
By Menon. We're back and we're under caution here at Dover Downs. Kenny Schrader had a spin up in turn 2 that we'll show you here in a second. He's back underway without too much damage to the Kodiak Chevrolet of Rick Hendrick. But it brings out the first caution at lap 14. Let's have a look at what happened to Schrader down in turns 1 and 2.
Okay, they go down in here. He goes in extremely hard, and you see the back end of the car coming out right there. It's history from there on. He's along for the ride now. Everybody was able to miss him, and he spun around and starts up towards the wall backwards now.
Bill Elliott just missed him on the low side, so did Sterling Marlin.
Oh, boy, he hit hard there. When you hit flat like that, it don't look like it hit that hard, but that car took a pretty good whacking.
So Schrader is on pit road, as is Rick Mast. And they're getting waved off.
Because of the line. He's over the line right there. See the man pointing down at the white line? He's got the nose hanging over the line. If you go ahead and do the pit stop, they're going to put him back a lap, but that's the least his problem right now. Now they rolled it back. The guys giving the okay signal, so maybe there won't be a penalty with it.
Well, both left side tires are flat, so he has to change those, and it really didn't hurt him that much. They need to work on that car and make sure the fenders don't drag, or he'll do the same thing again.
He squared it up enough. It looked like the left rear wheel would possibly rub real hard. So as much travel as they have as they go off in these deep corners,
there we go. There we go.
Well, he's still on the lead lap. And they'll send him out. They may bring him back in. 51 seconds on pit road. Of course, we are under caution, and Schrader stays on the lead lap.
What you've got to wonder about it, something like that. Maybe they get the sheet metal off, but you can see when you hit the wall how the wheels were turned around. That toe-in stuff, all the steering components are there. If they take that kind of lick, it usually bends something.
And on Michael Walter, his stop a while ago, he had a flat right front while he stopped.
So Mike Waltrip has fallen 1 lap down. That's Elmo Cam. Elmo Langley, the pace car driver for NASCAR, hauling the field around Dover Downs. He may get a workout today. We'll be right back.
Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
It's the Big Four. Willie, Will, and Johnny and Chris, the Highwaymen, Monday on TNN.
You've heard about the great selection of tires at Gateway Tire, but did you know they also have a large inventory of chrome and aluminum wheels with prices starting at only $35. You'll hit the road in style with wheels by Mangles and Grand Prix. And for a smoother ride, Gateway carries quality Monroe shocks and struts, plus front-end alignments and rebuilding using the latest technology. And right now, get these all-season white wall specials.
195/75 R14s for only $33.18. Our 225/75 R15s only $39.77 at Gateway Tire.
Hello, I'm Mr. Delicious, the new spokesman for Rack's Restaurants. My job? To encourage you to enjoy tasty, affordable meals in a more mature dining environment. I know what you're thinking. He's a cartoon. And cartoons are mostly for people who wet their pants. But not Mr. D. He's a special cartoon for adults. And Mr. Delicious always carries his briefcase. Contents? Watch for me and visit Rack's. Tickety-dee.
Watching from out the back of the Pontiac safety car here at Dover Downs at Mark Martin and the rest of this 36-car field.
It's a pretty good sized piece of paper he's got hung on that thing.
On the front grille of Martin's car. Our 800 lines are open if you have questions about the running of this race, how this is going along. We'd invite your questions, and we'll try to get as many of them on the air as possible today. 800 800-451-7331. This is a free call. We have operators in Nashville standing by to take your questions about the race. We'll either try to get them answered up here in the booth or pass them along to our pit reporters and get the straight scoop from down on pit road. We do hope, though, if you have just questions of a general nature about the sport, that you'll save those and send them in to Inside Winston Cup Racing, the fine weekly show on TNN. It's the better forum to deal with general questions about the sport of Winston Cup Racing. But if you have something that pertains to this race as you watch it, we want you to be part of the telecast. And again, that number is 1-800-451-7331. That'll be operational throughout today's telecast. Green flag at lap 18. Mark Martin and Alan Kulwicki haul the field off into turn number 1. Dale Earnhardt, who's always tough here at Dover, running in third and right on Kulwicki's bumper.
That Dale, he makes that car a present, doesn't he? Oh, looks like he might have touched a little bit coming out of the corner there, Neil.
Yeah, I tell you, he put a lot of heat on before he gets off the corner. Like he loosened him up, right up off. He's trying his best to get up under him there. Slipped out of the line a little bit. We were talking about how fast he ran, and then he slipped out of the line. He's falling back a little bit.
Dick Trick was the 5th place car. Jeff Bodine just getting past him. 4 of the front 6 cars are Ford. Earnhardt and Rudd Chevrolet. Back at 13th place, Kyle Petty. Trying to run down Rusty Wallace. They had the pit board up for Wallace, but he did not come in during that caution.
Rusty's car looks like he's pushing in the center of the corner. See him telling him to go by. I got problems with this thing to allow just on it.
Buddy, people don't know what's going on, but you and I've done that a lot. You motion to the inside. Rusty's saying, I'll give you the inside. You see Kyle's already by him. He motion to take the inside, or you'll either give him inside or outside. Rusty told him where he wanted to clear him at.
Now, folks have wondered why you do something like that. Why wave a guy by? But I guess if you can send him past at a point and in a manner where it doesn't slow down either car, you're doing both of yourselves a favor.
Well, the other thing, you give a little common courtesy like that. You don't hold the guy up if he's faster, and he'll remember that thing in the middle part of the race when you might be adjusted where you can run better than he does.
This is not like when Jake the Snake whispers in the guy ear, you know, let's try the tomato drop fall or whatever. It's a little different from that. Darrell Waltrip in 15th behind Ted Musgrave in 55. Ford and Bobby Hamilton moving up to give his Nashville neighbor a hello. And here comes Davey. Darrell Waltrip. Wow. Moving up in the wrong direction.
Darrell looks bad. Davey looks that good going by. He's really happy.
That's the 90 car, the Judy Donlavey car with Hut Strickland right behind Darrell.
Davy's been just marching to the front. They had a terrible qualifying time. He's just been picking his way to the front. Jakes told me before the race started, he said, we got this thing running, and it certainly looks like it.
Davey up to 17th spot. Just ahead of Waltrip, who is 18th. Morgan Shepherd in the Wood Brothers car. Pulling up now behind Waltrip. Let's move back up where Davey Allison gets underneath Bobby Hamilton. That's at 16th position.
That 28 car come up out of his corner. He just pulling Bobby right up out of the corner.
A little further up, Dale Jarrett has moved up ahead of Jeff Bodine. Ahead of Bill Elliott. Or ahead of Jeff Bodine. There's Jeff Bodine up behind Ricky Rudd.
I tell you, we see these Fords perform real well here. A lot of tracks, but you go to Fords have always ran good to this racetrack. You go to some places, and they seem to just have the knack at running at that particular track, and they really fly around.
It's like Charlotte and Atlanta use a lot of torque here instead of just RPM to get you out of the corner.
Jarrett is 7th. Elliott, the points leader, is 8th. Junior Johnson stablemate Sterling Marlin right behind. Then Brett Bodine.
You know, just talking, there's not that much difference between the two makes anymore as far as horsepower and the way they run down the straightaway. It's the car that handles the best that really gets the job done anymore.
that battle for 7th place. They're running 3 seconds behind the leader. Let's go back to 11th position. Terry Labonte, number 94 and 11th in the Sunoco car. And right with him, the mellow yellow Pontiac of Kyle Petty in 12th. Kyle started 16th and was moved up a bit. Labonte started 4th. It used to be here at Dover that real early in the race you'd see cars up in the middle of the racetrack and Harry Gant up there in that lonely groove scraping the Dover Downs paint off the wall. And now look at how everybody's right on the bottom.
Mike, I'm telling you, they might as well, that last 20 foot, they can put grandstands up there. It's almost unusable. They might as well put a new wall and put some seats there, because if you get on the top of the racetrack, you're going for a ride. The bottom is the place to run, and if you get up there high, you're going to slip and slide.
Here's Kenny Schrader back on the speedway, moving well, going past Derek Cope. Schrader is in 25th position and continues on the lead lap. James Hilton and Mike Waltrip are the only lap cars.
Well, Schrader's car, you know, when he hit the wall, we thought he might have a lot of problems. He's coming on back. It takes a little while to get the confidence back. If you wreck a car that bad, to see if it still feels good enough to run hard.
Well, the one thing he's got in his favor right now, he's got 4 tires, too.
3rd place has changed hands. Jeff Bodine has moved around Dale Earnhardt. And Dick Trickle is right there in the Snickers Ford.
That makes it 3 Fords up front. And Trickle right behind Earnhardt. We'll see them, those guys work their way to the front.
And Ricky Rudd right with them. Bodine gets past Earnhardt. He's taken off, headed for Alan Kulwicki. Jeff Bodine announced yesterday he has re-signed for next season with Bud Moore and the Motorcraft people. He'll be back behind the wheel of one of Bud's Fords.
There's a lot of times, too, it would surprise you when there's rumors going on. Here's Trickle down under Earnhardt. A lot of times when those rumor mills are going and a guy's going to leave, performance falls on the team. As soon as they sign up for next year, you'll see a change in performance. Everybody gels to get a little bit better. And when they said they're ready to go racing, now look, all of a sudden the car should be running good.
This has always been a good track for Bud. I think Ricky Rudd won here for him, Bobby Allison. A lot of drivers have driven his cars to victory here. 30 years with Ford as a car owner. Both in Winston Cup and in Trans Am racing. Bud Moore.